forces remain locked in a power struggle despite international calls for a ceasefire.
They want to show their honour. Soldiers and police of the Sudan Armed Forces in the center of Omdurman.
Hundreds of people have been killed,
And doing the sign of support. We've seen that.
There's fighting in different parts of Sudan, but it's heaviest in the capital, Khartoum. There have been attempts at a ceasefire, but they haven't lasted. There have been air attacks and shelling, and hundreds have been injured. It's an all-out battle for control of the country between Sudan's army and a paramilitary unit known as the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, led by men who used to be allies.
هم السيادة دي ما دايرينها للسودان، وده نتيجة الحرب الحسي القائمة دي هي حرب رباعية الأجزاء. هي حرب جذورها والبذور سودانية زرعت ونبعت في أرض أمريكية، كدبت في الاتحاد الأوروبي وجمعت بأيدي عاملة من دولة الإمارات ورجعت.
Hi, this is the amateur analyst, keenly analyzing topics from the back rooms. Take it with a pinch of salt till your kidneys can't take it anymore. The point to note is that what you will see here and what you will hear is just a tip of the iceberg, as it in no way compares to the actual atrocities taking place in Sudan right now. Viewer discretion is also heavily advised. Sudan is a country located on the African continent. In fact, it is a northeastern African country, which has 7 neighboring countries, which include Libya, Egypt, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Eritrea, Central African Republic, and Chad. It also happens to have a coastline on the Red Sea. The Sudan Civil War we are going to be talking about today primarily began in the Ramadan of 2023, around 15th April 2023. Although it was then quickly overshadowed by the Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Palestine conflict, and the China-Taiwan tensions. Hence, it receives less or no attention from the global media, which, as we all know, suffers from a very short attention span. This apparently leaves the Sudan war in a state of lack of attention, which delays important global decision-making efforts to bring the war to a conclusion. Well, unless the conclusion isn't part of the plan. The Sudan war is mainly characterized as a civil war, whereby a civil war is a conflict between organized groups within the same country, aiming to control the nation or a specific region. It involves violent confrontations between a state and one or more organized non-state actors within the state's territory. There are 2 major sides involved in this conflict. One is the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, or sometimes referred to as National Army, which is under Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. And then the other side, the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, which are a form of paramilitary forces under a Janjaweed leader nicknamed Hemeti, also known as Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Other elements in the war are the SPLM-N rebels, or the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, and the SLM, or the Sudan Liberation Movement rebels. In early 2023, fighting began in the Darfur region and the Khartoum regions, and later spread across to at least half of the country, displacing more than 7 million refugees internally and at least 2 million refugees externally. Death had already exceeded 30,000 by the beginning of the war, and that is if we are being conservative. Because in events like bombings and massacres, we always never get to tell whose hand was this or whose leg was this. Another key point to note is that the war is also suspected by many to be a proxy war involving countries such as Iran, UAE, USA, Russia, and some other members. A proxy war is an armed conflict fought between two belligerents, wherein one of the belligerents is a non-state actor supported by an external third-party power. And as you heard, I used the word believe because this information lacks a solid foundation or backing, as it is mainly based on rumors, because I cannot provide a single source of information that is legitimate. Well, what is legitimate? Well, to me, the goals of both sides still remain largely unknown. That is to me. Although feel free to comment if you know some of the goals of these sides in this war. Because I, as an outside viewer, don't seem to get the real thick, clear picture as someone who is involved in the war or has been involved in the war. Key military equipment to take note of from the war footage. As we could have predicted earlier, we have sighted men wielding AK-47s and other members of the AK family, such as the AKM. RPK machine guns and PKMs, or known as Pullkoev machines, have also been sighted. Trucks, such as the Toyota Land Cruiser, are a key element in this war, also known as the Technical. We previously saw these in the early wars between Chad and Libya, where they made a very good standing against the Libyan army in T-55s and those families of tanks. And as you guessed it, what follows is that these trucks are mounted with all sorts of things, ranging from rocket launchers, machine guns, recoilless rifles, anti-aircraft guns, and anything that can fit onto that truck bed of that Toyota pickup. Anything, literally. RPG-7s have been noticed with multiple individuals, as they are one of the main armor-piercing implements in this conflict. We have also been able to sight tanks from the T-series families, although at this point I cannot specify which T-series. And we have seen armored personnel carriers from the BMP family, which I have also not yet observed keenly to see which exact variant. But just like the icing on the cake, the aircrafts stole the whole show. Aircrafts from the MiG family, such as the MiG-29 and MiG-23 fighters, were sighted dropping unguided munitions on major cities and major bases. Also, they have been working on resupply missions of mainly surrounded forces, keeping them active. Death, of course, is one of the main key points to note from this war, because it has occurred at an extremely large scale, a scale we shall never live to know. Only the people on the ground will ever know how many people perished. Sorry, footage. Note that this is just a brief video about just some key concepts about the war. A longer, more elaborated video might come in the near future. Thank you. But that heavily depends on how much this one is liked and how much research I gain from the comments of this video. So please don't forget to cite some sources. The political reasons behind the war. Well, I'm also still doing research. Feel free to provide some reasons. Although for some reasons I have been a little afraid of talking about them here to avoid being chewed up alive. Thank you. Have a good day.